Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. There's been a lot of re-signings this week and quite a few new signings as well. But Charlie's back on. He's got a little message which we'll come to in a second. But we've also got a special guest on the podcast, hopefully, which I'm recording tonight, which is Doug Clarkson. Obviously, the big 6'5", I think he was, Canadian, who's played in some all around the American and Canadian leagues. And then he came over to the Telford Tigers as well, had some time in the Elite League with Belfast, I think it was. So, yeah, it'll be nice to chat to him tonight. But, Charlie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, it should be a good interview. He's one of the best players I've watched. On probably one of the most dominant teams I've watched. He was unbelievable.
Yeah. Obviously, you've been in and out of the podcast the last few weeks, but you do have some news which has come about. Obviously, it's been a bit of a long time coming kind of thing. There's been a lot of time which has gone into it, but you can finally say or give us an update.
Yeah, so well, I'm a bit on and off the podcast for many reasons, but I've always said kind of sometimes it's due to work and just making sure I'm focusing on work. And one of the moves I'm making is I'm moving out of home to Cardiff, which is a fun, exciting opportunity. I chose Cardiff because I like the place. It's not a million miles away. It's kind of like a city, but a not city. And I managed to find myself a nice property over there to rent for a year. It's going to be a big step for me in my kind of business journey, my career, and just becoming a man, I guess. So I'm going to be moving to Cardiff, which does mean I'm not going to see as many Wildcat games next year. But it's also a really exciting opportunity for me. I won't be watching too much of the Devils. If I am going to watch hockey, I'm going to watch Bristol away when Swindon are there. I'm going to go to Basingstoke at say hello to Dan. I'm sure I'll be at quite a few Swindon games because I'll be visiting my parents and stuff.
Yeah, so an exciting little journey for you moving out, and we've planned a few trips possibly. Maybe I come up Friday night for a Devils game because I know Devils like to play on Friday, and it's quite close to Bristol as well. So yeah, that's kind of the little update with Charlie. Dan's on holiday, so he's finally got a week away, but I know he's looking forward to coming back. And it is the Stanley Cup Finals tomorrow night as we're recording this. The Oilers against the Panthers rematch. I am so nervous for this series. Can McDavid do it? I really hope he can. Charlie, obviously you don't want the Oilers to do it because I support the Oilers, so you don't want me to be happy. But what do you think? Who's going to
I
win
think
it?
it's gonna be a good series. I think Zach Hyman going out is a big loss, but I think you've kind of got a heartbroken Oilers team, pretty much. Quite a chunk of that team, pretty heartbroken from last year. 3-0 down, getting it back to game seven and losing it. But then you've got a Florida Panthers team who are just relentless. They know what it takes to win. Third final running, which is insane in the NHL, and they just seem to love to be the team to make people upset. I think Game Seven, I really do, and who knows how Game Seven can go, but I'd be surprised if McDavid had a quiet Game Seven again.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can do it. Home ice advantage for the Oilers this time. Obviously, Florida had it last year, so looking forward to that, watching that over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, let's get to the National League, and we'll probably edit the Doug Clarkson interview after we've gone through the news and the signings. So the first bit of news, we kind of follow on from last week. So go check that out if you haven't already. Catch up. We had an interview as well on the podcast last week with Mitchell King, who made the step up, Austin to Glasgow, and that was a good little interview. But the first signing I've got is Hodgkinson to Hull, re-signing back for the full season, Charlie, which is a solid sign. I think I say last season, the time he played with Hull last season was kind of the best hockey I've seen Hodgkinson play.
Yeah, I think Matty's really coached Hodgkinson well. I think Hodgkinson suits the way Hull like to play. It's an offense heavy physical game where your D-men have got to be fit, and your D-men have got to be willing to skate a lot. And I think Hodgkinson did that. I think he came into a Hull team which was massively needing defensemen, and needing legs in D because they seemed to get so many D injuries last year, and he just came in and he fitted in so well. And so I think having him from the start of the year will be really important. And like I said, I just think he doesn't burn out quick. He can suck up 22, 23 minutes a night, and he's a physical guy who also picked up the points last year. So altogether, a cracking signing for Hull.
Yeah, he blocks everything. He's not afraid to jump in front of the puck. He's a defense first guy, which I think Hull need. So getting him for the whole season will be very good signing for them. And there's been a lot of chat online. Are they going to go for import forwards? Well, if they do, it's a big season for Hodgkinson because he's got to step up and be one of those top 4D men, I think, in the team. So exciting for him that he's going to get a big role. But yeah, good re-signing. I think a lot of teams would have tried to get Hodgkinson after the little spell he had at the end of last season. A little youngster signing or re-signing, Bailey Thompson back to Solway. I think he got his first professional goal last season with the Sharks in the NIHL. So a good little moment for him. But he's still so young, Charlie. And with these youngsters, you just have to give him time. It's nice to see him get a few shifts now and again. And yeah, he's already got the size and the build, so it's just about getting used to the NIHL now, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a 2-year contract as well. So
Yeah,
they're clearly wanting to invest in him, and I think Martin Grubb's always been good with youngsters because of his GB time. He coaches the under 20s, I believe. And I think Solway, by the looks of their roster, will look to run 4 lines this year. Well, obviously haven't announced everyone, but if you're having a Bailey Thompson full time, I can see him on a fourth line, chucking them out, maybe with a Coulter or someone like that, and them just working their bum off. So yeah, I think it's a good re-signing. I think he's a Solway lad, and it's always good to develop players because the top guys who are a bit older are not going to be around forever.
yeah. So re-signing for Solway, and then this is a big re-signing. Brad Bowering back with the Phantoms. So even though Slava moved on to Sheffield, a few people wondering would Brad Bowering go elsewhere. Obviously, he's one of the top young defensemen in the league, but he's been around for a long time. But he stays with Peterborough, and we said a few weeks ago that Brad whether they sign Brad Bowering will be a big tell in whether we think they go for an import defenseman as their final import or extra import or an import forward. I think with Brad Bowering staying and another one staying who we'll mention in a bit, I think I think they've got enough defensive core there with Levine as well, who we're expecting to take a step up, Charlie, to go with an extra import forward, so more firepower.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with the loss of Austin Mitchell King to Glasgow.
Yeah.
I think that was one of their top 6 pieces who was taking a step forward every year. And having 3 imports means you can have a top 6 of Nathan Salem, Luke Ferrara, 3 imports, and another guy. But Brad Barron, the thing I love about Peterborough's decor is they've got a really nice mix between experience and youngsters.
Yeah.
You've obviously got Tom Norton and Scott Robson in the more experienced players, but you've got really hot talents like Brad Barring. And I actually think Brad Barring can have a better year than he had last year. He proved the year before last how many points he can get. I think this year could be the year where he really takes on the top power play and makes it his the whole year. I think he's a very gifted D man, and we've seen what he can do in Coventry, scoring a penalty shot under pressure. So yeah, I think it's a great re-sign. And like you said, I do totally agree. They've obviously got Huff and Leving, and I think Leving's second half of the year really start to learn how to play in the national because it's a bit of a different league to the NCAA. And I think getting 3 import forwards is massive. And Brad Barron's almost like an import D man in this league. He's a top, Brett.
Well, we'll get to the other re-sign then. We'll skip ahead a few days so we can just tick it off as Billy Thorpe. So you've now got the core of Norton Robson, Buglas, Bowering, and Thorpe as well. So you've got 5 solid D men at the National League level, and then they might go and re-sign Vince Gutternes or I can't remember who else played
They've
defence
got
there.
Saville as well,
Oh,
who's a really
yeah,
young
Saville's
player.
coming up as well. So I could see him signing Vince Gutternis maybe to play on the third line with Robson. That's not a bad
Yeah,
third pairing at all. And then you've got Buglas on top line with Norton maybe, and then Bowering and Thorpe. So you can
yeah.
you can switch it up, but they've got their core defense re-signed now. Even though Slava has moved on, that core defense is stuck together.
Yeah, I think it's big for Peterborough. I think there was always this question mark when Slava went to Phantoms, Billy Thorpe and Brad Bowering. I think they were probably the 2 ones you go, they're the hottest talents in that team,
Yeah.
both having played games in the Elite League. Not many, but they both had two ways on the Elite League.
Thorpe scored for
Thorpe scored for
Coventry, I think.
Coventry, and then obviously Brad Barron, I think, played one game for Nottingham, or at least he was on a two-way with them. So they both had that kind of sniff at the Elite League, and managing to snap them up next year, it makes the coach's role a lot easier coming in, whoever that will be, because you've got five D men who have played with each other for the last 4 years. And all of them are top D men at this level. Like I think all of them guys, or at least most of them, will get on a lot of teams' top 4D. You've just them five are really good, and if you have that other number four, I can't pronounce his name. I'll butcher that so badly.
Fenskatonis or
Yeah,
something.
if you get him in and you have Robson on a third pair, like you said, you've just got such a solid six. And it's Peterborough's identity has always been built on top D men.
And I think with a new coach coming in, might see Barron maybe take a step up offensively. You never know, because you know how defensive Slava liked his systems, which wasn't a bad thing. You just might see more offensive Barron. Swindon Wildcats re-signed Josh Shaw. Obviously, he's taken steps up the last few seasons. He scored actually a couple big goals last year against Hull, which got a big win for us against Leeds. He scored twice. So he's slowly getting played a bit more. And I think next season I think it's proven we got to go with those four lines. And Josh Shaw and Dylan have taken a step up now. So I think they're trusted a bit more. And I'd like to see them being rotated throughout the whole game now. I think they're ready for that.
Yeah, I think Josh is due a massive breakout year at some point. I think he's had his hot and cold patches, which is what you imagine for a 16, 17, 18-year-old lad, but he's clearly got an eye for goal. He's done it at all GB levels. He did it at junior, he did it in National 1. And he knows how to score goals. And I think it's he goes on hot streaks like last year. I think he scored like 4 goals in a little patch. And I'm excited to see what Josh can do, because I just think having a guy like Josh, a young talent, quick, tenacious, I think they can make their difference in the games. And I think the advantage for Swindon is you've got this kind of little trio of youngsters, especially in Josh, Dylan, and Jamie, and all three of them take a step forward every single year.
Yeah, I think Josh has got that step up. I think if there's any spot in the top like nine, I know he played fourth line last year. I think that's probably Josh to step up now this year. So we'll have to see. He's never going to take his cage off, but hopefully he can have an even better season this season. Right, for me, this could be one of the signings of the season. I think this is definitely the signing of the week, along with maybe one from Sheffield. But Patrick Brown to Telford Tigers. Telford obviously already signing Henderson and Thompson. Now they go and sign Patrick Brown. Now, Patrick Brown played for 3 years in the OHL. So he did his OHL years, and that's quite a competitive kind of youth leagues. That's where all of the players are fighting to really try and make a name for themselves to get drafted, I guess. But he spent 3 years in there, and then he had the 4 years in the U Sports, and in his final year, he was captain of his team at Wilfrid Laurier. But the seasons before he became captain and got more of a, I guess, advanced role, he got some good points. In his first season, 13 points in 16 games. Second season, 17 points in 26 games. And then the third season, he got 18 points in 28 games with 10 goals as a centre, 6'2" centre, 25 years old. So he's coming into his prime, Canadian. I just think this is Charlie. We've been saying this is the one, man. Like, their import forward trio just looks so good.
Yeah, Tom Watkins, he just gets imports. He understands what Telford need, and I think Telford's identity is built on this high forecheck, high skating, four-line game, and he goes for Canadians who are just hungry. And this guy just screams of that. He's 25. It's his first year of pro hockey equivalent. I know it's not a professional league, but he's going to be a full-time ice hockey player. And it's his first year of pro hockey. He's just come out of college, and I don't know if anyone watched Coventry Blaze this year, but they had a bunch of lads who had just come out of college, come that team, and they just have this bundle of energy because they've played, I don't know, 25 games a year, and in the youth sports, if people don't know, the crowds aren't normally the biggest, and so
Yeah.
they come into England and they're playing in these arenas, which to us may not seem huge, but 1,000 fans, 2,000 fans, and they love it. They find it fun, and I think you're going to have Thompson and Henderson most likely playing together, probably with Ferguson still, and then this guy is going to be a guy who's going to have to lead a line, probably with Finn House, and I think that's really exciting because I think you can give this guy the responsibility. He's a captain as the center of the second line and say, make this line your own. And I think he really will. And to be honest, I didn't expect them to get Henderson and Thompson, and
Yeah.
now they've signed a stud center. I think they've really aced their import trio of forwards. And I was saying to Jack the other day, if they get a good import D man, they could be in shout for having the best four imports in terms of as a group in
Yeah.
the league because they're looking real good. So credit where credit's due to Telford. This looks like a cracking signing.
That 1-2 centre punch of Thompson and Patrick Brown looks pretty good. And yeah, who knows? They could imagine he plays all three imports on the same line. If they need a goal, just
Seen Tom
whack.
Watkins do it. He's not
Oh,
afraid to make a line which is unbeatable in this league.
and this guy is Patrick is probably going to be trusted penalty kill, power play. He's got the leadership, obviously being the captain in his final year.
Never
Six
had
foot
too
two
many
centre.
pins
I
either.
just think
So he's
both
not.
ends of the ice.
He doesn't strike me as a guy who gives away silly penalties either.
No,
He hasn't got too many pims. And so yeah, I think to be honest, I think from Talford's perspective, I'd be really excited going into the season. You've managed to keep hold of your key players so far in the Brits, and then you've kept hold of your two big imports who changed your season, and then you've signed an import which looks unreal on paper. It's a big signing when the team before does a tribute post almost to
yeah,
say thank you. Like
yeah, because
that
they
they were appreciated.
Ryan Wells's team did one for him, and look how Ryan Wells turned out. But it just gets even better for Telford because they've signed Ben Norton to partner Brad Day for next season. Now, Brad Day has been around this league for years. He's been one of the best netminders in the league, but last few seasons he's played way too many games. You can physically see in some games he's just tired. But you have to play him because they haven't really had a backup who can play the games. But they've brought in Ben Norton. Now, I was surprised when this happened. I said to Charlie, "Oh, Ben Norton signed with Telford," but it makes sense for both parties. One, it's like healthy competition for Brad Day. You've got a younger guy, Ben Norton, who's 20 years old, partnered up with Brad Day, who's coming into his later years of his career, and they can challenge each other a bit like Zamostra and McLaughlin, but Ben Norton's way younger. Like he's still a prospect, and he played a lot of games at the start for Sheffield. Then he got that big injury, and he never really recovered from that. And then Dan Crow took a step up. So I'm interested to see what a hungry Ben Norton is like, Charlie, because when he's on it, he's shown that he's very hard to beat on his day, and he's one of those goalies who got thrown into the deep end so young at Bristol.
Yeah, I think Sheffield they didn't announce this actually, but they've obviously got Alex Oxlade as their starter.
Yeah.
And it's clear that they've kind of brought him in to play the chunk of minutes. And I kind of rate the move from Ben Norton, whether he knew that he wasn't going to be the starter or not next year. I think it's a real good move for him. I think Telford have got a track record of developing goalies well. Brad Day being a great example, came down from the Steelers and started doing really well. And I think it's time for Brad Day to get some competition. I don't think he had his best season last year, and I think taking some load off of him or potentially taking a big role off him. I think Brad Day's at that point in his career where he'd love to see a Ben Norton get developed. And one of the things I've always loved about Tom Watkins, and I just feel with his teams, is he makes youngsters feel very comfortable and very confident. And I think maybe that I think the Sheffield system's quite a pressured system. It's pretty brutal.
It's
It's
the
like a
first year
professional
as well.
hockey.
There was a lot of people looking
and
at it.
and if you look at the goalie situation they had 3 goalies battling for a spot. It was pretty cutthroat. Whereas I think at Telford, he'll get given a bit more time to just say, right, we're going for a rough patch at the moment, Ben. Now's the time to push. And I think he will. And I'm really looking forward to see how Ben Norton develops at Telford. I think that could go down as a very underrated signing. And I think we could really see probably the best version of Ben Norton we've seen yet.
Yeah, Brett Day played all 54 games last year and then 50 the season before. So he's played 104 games the last 2 seasons, which is just ridiculous for a goalie. So I think even Brad Day will like maybe the night off in some of the games and knowing he doesn't have to play if he's feeling it a bit. So yeah, I think that could be really good for Ben Norton, a really nice lad as well. Not a bad word to say about him off the ice. He just gets on with his business, and I had a few chats with him last season when I saw him about, and nothing but a really nice guy. So I wish Norton the best of luck at Telford. I think it's a really good bit of business from Watkins. He's one of the best guys with the youngers, and also he coached Ben Norton at the under 20s. And I was just looking at the stats. One season, Ben Norton, when he just finished playing in America, he played with the under 20s. He won all 5 games and let in less than a goal a game. He had a 9.55 save percentage. So I think with the pressure off Ben Norton as well, you're going to see a much improved season from him. And then a player who's left Telford, but he's gone back to Bison is Hardin. So I think this is obviously he was there before Charlie. I think again he knows what it takes to play for Bison. He had to play on D for Telford because of how many players were out injured last season. But I assume he'll go back to forward this time for Basingstoke. So again, just another good solid Brit signing for Basingstoke, who are just building up that core for next season.
Yeah, I know this may be shocking to hear this. I don't know. I just checked his elite prospects. He's 32.
Yeah, he's been around for a
He's
while.
been around for a while. I didn't expect. I'm not like saying he's old or anything, but like I thought he was younger. But he's one of them players, a bit like Chris Jones, who's been in the game for a while. He had some great years with Swindon in the UPHL, and then he moved to Basingstoke. And in my eyes, he played his best National League hockey at Basingstoke. He scored 26 points in 17 games when he moved there mid-season. He then scored 52 points in 46 games as an assistant captain in the first back season of the National League. And then before Basingstoke went, he scored 55 points in 36 games. He's really had his best hockey at Basingstoke. And whether he'll play a third line role as he's a little bit older now, or he breaks into a top six role, I think Adam Harden has statistically played his best hockey there. And I think it could be an opportunity to see him have a kind of a late revival in some sense of his points game, or he could be a third line centre who helps play with Morris and Wilson. But I think the key thing for Basingstoke, and I think one exciting thing for them, and it's the nice thing about having a club which is established, they got good Brit depth now. They got solid Brit depth and experience. Brendan Baird, Stuart Mogg, Thomas Ralph, Adam Harden, Zach Milton, Liam Morris, Norcliffe, Stead, and Hallam Wilson. That's a solid, experienced Brit National League core who knows how to win at the National League level. And I didn't expect Adam Harden to go back. So the fact he has gone back, I think, is a great re-signing. And I think Basingstoke are looking good. That's without any imports in the team. So
Yeah, they've not even announced an import yet.
I think
Obviously, the coach come in. We talked about him last week, but yeah, it's down to Jeff now on the imports, and
yeah.
he knows the U Sports quite well. So see who he has to sign. Another new signing. So obviously, we announced last week Ethan here to has left Leeds, but he's joined Hull, Charlie, and Hull are bulking up this forward core. And I think this kind of plays into this hard forechecking offensive kind of style which Matty Davies wants to play. He can just get Ethan and just tell him to forecheck their D men. He can penalty kill. You can chuck him on a third line, but then he'll also do a fourth line role as well. He'll chip in with a couple points, but I think his main role is just to wear down the top guys of other teams.
He's only 23 years
Yeah,
old. He's still young. He's hungry. He may be annoyed. I don't know whether Leeds chose to get rid of him or not, but I'm sure he's going to have a good fight against Leeds. His old mate, well, still mates, but old teammates.
Yeah,
And I think the thing which you look at in this whole team is the depth in forward is insane. And we know that Matty likes to play an offensive game, and I'm sure we'll go on to their other re-signing after this.
well,
But
new signing.
I new signing. But I think the key for Matty this year, from hearing his interviews, he wants to play four-line hockey and tear teams apart with the forecheck and press of this team. This team is going to be one of the hardest forechecking teams. Actually, I'll say it now. I think it's going to be the hardest forechecking team in the league. I think they're going to put so much front foot pressure on. They're going to rely on their forwards to be good. And you're going to have an Ethan Here who's just won 3 leagues in a row on probably the fourth line, which is pretty mental, and he's going to be forechecking his bum off with the likes of Deck Jones, which is
Oh,
crazy. You're going to have potentially a PK unit of Deck Jones and Ethan here, so
probably.
you're not going to be putting your top guys out for PKs. Matty Davies is going to have some of the funnest hockey in the National League. Whether it works or not, I'm excited to see whether it does. But I think in terms of 4 lines of forwards, he's going to have a stacked up National League. And I think Kier plays a real good role, and he'll be an underrated signing because obviously they've had some pretty big names signed for them so far.
Yeah. Well, the other one is Callie Robertson. They announced both of them in the same day. This was out of nowhere. I don't think people saw this coming, so I didn't even get a chance to say left. But Callie Robertson joins them. Known NIHL scorer. He had a tough kind of. He started the season off quite tough. Mid-season, got a bit better, and kind of hit the ground running again at the end of the season. But it wasn't quite enough for Solway to get playoffs. But I think if you can get a fresh Callie Robertson playing that whole way in that whole barn, he's quick. He'll love the big ice. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe the small ice didn't quite suit him at Solway, maybe, but I think he'll love the big ice. He loved it at Bristol, and yeah, it's a great sign. It
He's
is a good
24 years
sign.
old. We've just spoke about 2 guys who are 23 and 24. This team has legs. Like this
Yeah.
team isn't old.
Well, to accompany the older players like Hewitt.
You've got Hewitt, who's obviously in his late years of his career, but then the next, and obviously no, not John O'Phillips, Davy Phillips, but then the next oldest is Bobby Chamberlain and Sobchak, who are 30. Like most of this team is below at the age of 30. They all have legs. They're forecheck. I'm telling you, it's gonna be insane. And
Bruton.
the
So
crazy thing with Callie Robertson, like I said, he's 24, but he's had 2 years at a point a game of National League. He had one year in Bristol where he was 60 points in 56 games, 32 goals. He's always got an eye for the net. And then his second half of the season in Solway, he got 30 points in 30 games. I don't think he's probably going to get a point a game at Hull. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. We'll see because there's so much offensive talent there. But for all I know, he could get plopped on a second top line or potentially. He's got the offensive talent. He obviously played with Sobchak, I believe, on the same line at Bristol, which I'm not sure whether they'll reunite that, but that is something they could potentially reunite.
they were second and third top point scorer.
Yeah, Sobchak and Callie Robertson. But Matty Davies is building one of the most fun teams to watch. I think you're genuinely talking 7-5 games of Hull next year. It's gonna be cracking. He's obviously he likes to back himself on social media, and I respect it. I'm excited to get him on the podcast and hear his thoughts on the roster. I'm sure he'll happily come back on, but I'm interested to see what he's cooking up because from the rumours they're potentially getting back another fourth import forward who we know well. So you're talking about, and this is crazy, a third line of Hewitt, Bonner, and Bruton.
Callie Robertson, if you want to put him on
And
third, is
then
just
potentially Robertson, Hewitt, Bruton. That's a third line. It's crazy. I'm excited because this whole team looks fun, and like we just looked at with Telford, they look fun with their imports. So it's looking like again another good year of National League entertainment.
yeah. Um, On to probably um one of the biggest signings of the week. So I think Patrick Brown was the one which really impressed me from Telford. but Steele. Now, Liam Steele has played pretty much his whole kind of career, if you want to call it, because he's still so young, out in America and Canada. But he has come back to England on a two-way with the Steel Dogs and the Steelers in the Elite League. Now, he hasn't played the last couple years. I can imagine he was still training because he was signed up to play in the NCAA. So I'm sure he's doing studies and training. But from Elite Prospects, he didn't actually play a game. But I can imagine he was still training with them, Charlie. But if you don't know about Liam Steele, he tore up juniors in under 15s, under 18s as a D man. He was stouted to be one of the biggest prospects from Great Britain. Obviously, he's part Canadian. I think part of his family is Canadian. So he went back to Canada and played in the Canada like youth leagues. And he was again solid there. He was a prospect to possibly be drafted in the late rounds, like Liam Kirk. He didn't get drafted, but if you look online, there's quite a few articles on all players who didn't get drafted, but are still to look out for. But yeah, obviously he signed up for a couple seasons for Cornell Uni. He didn't play a game on Elite Prospects, but Charlie, 6 foot. Let me just check. 6'4"
Yeah.
defenseman. He's skilled, and if he plays for the Steel Dogs for the majority of the season, that's a top line D man who's probably going to tear the league apart.
It says on here he's 102 kilos as well. So he's a big boy.
Oh my
And from
days.
what I've heard, his skating's pretty good. His last year GB under 20s, he scored 6 points in 5 games as a D. Um, the fact he got drafted for the NCAA, you don't see many Brits do that. I'll give you an example of a Brit who was drafted to the NCAA, Cade Nilsson. It's no mess about. This guy hasn't played for 2 years, but if I was to pick a coach who I'd want to coach him, a 6'4" defenseman and a guy who knows how to coach D men, in my opinion, the best out of anyone in this league is Slava Kulikov. When I first saw this Sheffield system, I remember saying to Jack, I thought they'd sign more guys straight from Canada who are
Yeah,
British.
yeah.
And they have now. And this is a guy who maybe wasn't expected. For me, I'm going to be shocked if he plays a full year in the National League.
Yeah, I think
I'm
he'd
going to
go up.
say that as honest I am. I don't know who will come down. I know Reece Kelly's most likely going to be a full-time elite guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see them swap at least once in a year.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
guy has got talent for days. He is one of the most talented British defensemen, and he has got future GB player written all over him. He
Yeah,
is,
he's
in
got the
my
build.
eyes, the perfect guy for this Steelers system. He will benefit off getting top line, potentially top PP minutes for Steel Dogs for the first
Mhm.
half of the year. Get his feet going again after 2 years out of hockey. And
I can imagine he was still training though.
yeah, but you got to get your feet going.
Game
Games,
time, yeah.
games are important. And I think this guy's gonna tear up this league. Like, there's no other way about it. His CV is phenomenal. It's rare we get guy imports signed from the NCAA in our league. This guy is a Brit. So yeah, I'm excited to watch him. I hope, to be honest, like from a British development standpoint, I want the lad to do well. Of course, I don't want him to do too well against Swindon, but from a British development standpoint, I genuinely want to see Liam Steele thrive at Steel Dogs because he is the heart and future of a British defence corps. And I think like I said, I think halfway through the season, I think he'll make the step up to Steelers. That's my prediction.
Him and CJ Garcia as a defensive
That's going to be
pair,
the
and
top pair
it's
from
just going to
my
be
guess would be
nuts.
that.
But I agree. I think maybe by Christmas he might be part of the elite league team, and that's part of this system. I think Slava and Adam Fox are going to be loving it working with this guy.
This is what the Sheffield system was built for, in my
Yeah,
eyes. Getting the
that's
top
probably for
top
me.
talented
That's their
Brits.
best signing for this system so far.
Yeah, it suits the system and get the best talented Brits who, like this guy, maybe hasn't played the most hockey in the last year. You can use the Steel Dogs as a way to get his feet going, to get him moving, to get him training with Steelers still. He's going to be training full time. And then you can judge throughout the year. Do we want to keep him in the National League the whole year, or do we want to let this lad go to the Steelers? I'm pretty confident he'll be playing some Steeler friendlies. I'm sure of that one.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, um, great signing, and Slava's going to cook with him. So GG's.
Right, the final seven signings are all British signings, so we'll crack through them. Edgars Weghorst and Jonas Bennett, two youngsters. Weghorst specifically got quite a bit of ice time at the end of the season last year, and quite some big games as well. I remember him against Romford and Sheffield. He played a part in them on the fourth line, so he's one to look out for. And then Bennett, I don't really know too much about, but I can imagine he's a defenseman coming through. So they're going to be bouncing around Leeds Knights and Leeds Knights too. And then this is one, Charlie, Elliot Lewis leaving Bristol. And he's obviously someone who was signed on the 2-year deal, but he's making the move somewhere else, we assume in the National League. And he's someone who we look at and go, he's so skilled. I just think he needed another team to go to and maybe get a different environment, play somewhere else, because he's got a skill set. He's a power forward who's got a bit of skill and can shoot, but I think he just needs just a fresh environment. That's exactly what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, I think he needs a different role and a new coach who can kind of help develop him in a way he thinks will work. He was the top goal scorer in the National League One 3 seasons ago. I think he has developed at Bristol. I think he's got stronger and faster. Yeah, I think from what he said, and Richie Hargreaves has said, I think they both agreed on it, and Elliot Lewis has made this move for his career's sake. He said so. Be interesting to see where he ends up, and I could really see him playing a third line checking, hitting role. And he is a guy who can chip in with goals, especially when he's confident.
Yeah, I spoke to him at Coventry actually, and he was a really nice guy. We had a good chat about hockey, so wish good luck to him, and hopefully we can get him on the podcast when it's announced what team he's going to be playing for. Callum Field then re-signed with MK, still so young, but plays a big role in that Milton Keynes team, and he's someone who Wallace really likes and trusts. So a good re-signing for them, Charlie, and I think yeah, he's couldn't really see him at another team. I think he enjoys playing for MK. He's been around with them for how many years? 5 years now. And each year he's kind of improving on the ice. One year actually, 22-23, got 12 goals, but I think his role's kind of changed since then.
And I think he's MK, one of the only MK through and through players in
Yeah,
terms
come through the
came
system.
through their academy. So he's a local lad. He does his role. He has some big moments for them, and I'd like to hope he can get a bigger opportunity next year, potentially take Carter's spot, and get
Yeah.
a bit more regular minutes, as I think he's getting a bit older and he's developing in his traits.
Yeah, he's got the build. He's only 20 years old, 6'5", so we'll see where it goes. On to another youngster, Dylan Lipsey, announced the other day, re-signing with Swindon. The brick core is pretty much completed now, Charlie. What's looking like, and it's looking like it's just the imports to come now. And yeah, you know what you're getting with Swindon every season, re-signing those guys you'd expect. And as we talked about with Josh, Dylan's really impressed me. He was probably my most improved player last season in the way that he stepped up to the National League. He got decent amount of points as well for a fourth liner, and Aaron actually played him when Aaron was out injured, or I think it was a little injury. Dylan got to step up on the top line with Malas and Glenn Billen. So yeah, it showed he's just a Swindon guy, and he's developing every season.
Yeah, we have a great academy. We always develop good players. A lot of the players dotted around the league, and Dylan J is a great player. I can see him really developing. He's got a good two-way game, and I think in the future we'll see him on the PK as well.
Yeah, every time he's always saying that, yeah, I just watched Glenn Billings. So that's not a bad little tactic to go by. He got 15 points last year for Swindon, 4 goals, 11 assists. So I'm hoping he can make an even bigger step up like Josh Shaw. Another new signing, Max Wigfield, someone who we haven't seen in the National League before, Charlie, but he's definitely going to make a presence because he is 6'5", coming over from America, and he's signed for the Bristol Pitbulls. 6'5", right winger. He's played in the NCAA 3, so not a bad little league. And then he played in the USPHL, getting a point per game in that. But it's one of them where you just don't really know, do you? He's played out in America. He's played in the U's of America. I can imagine he's a good skater for his size as well. Power forward. So with Elliot Lewis going, you can imagine he's kind of the replacement to come in.
Yeah, he's massive. And he's a bit of an unknown because in the NCAA three, you can kind of tell he was a third, fourth liner,
Yeah.
chuck his body around, be a big presence. Whereas in the U Sports Premier, which is a league, the Premier Sports, whatever it is called, um, he that league, Bally played in. And as we know with Bally scored a point a game in that league, and so did this guy. And Bally came to our league, and he's a point a game player. So this guy clearly has offensive talent, but he's spent his last 4 years being a power forward who hits. So it'd be interesting to see how he adapts. But I think for Bristol, it is about taking risks at this level and seeing if guys can take that huge step up. And maybe this guy's a guy who comes in and he takes a huge step forward, and he could potentially be around a point a game in their top six, playing with probably not Britnell, because I can imagine there's a bit too much meat on that line. They murder teams, but on the second line potentially with some other guys, I think he could play a real big role. And so I think it's a good signing for Bristol, and they have to take risks in their signings, and this could be one which really pays off for them. And he's just got to be careful with Dops when you're 6'5", and I can imagine he skates quite well and hits like a truck. You've got to be careful.
I'm sure they're hammering it into him, and the players will as well. Young back with Solway, I think we saw that one coming, Charlie. But with the rumours which are coming around, obviously Carter Hamill coming to Solway. You've got the extra import slot as well, which with Jordan Mars re-signing, you'd expect them to go for another forward. This might mean that Young can play that third line centre, but be a very important role on that third line because he's had to play a lot of minutes on that second line. But I think on a third line, you're going to see an even better Young, even if he goes down the line to third line.
Yeah, I like Young. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's part of this Solway core, which over the years we're going to see get better and better at National League. And I think he's taken 2 steps forward each year, and I expect him to do the same again this year. He's a good two-way face-off centre, and I really like Young. I think he's a great part of that Solway core.
Yeah, he got 30 points last year. He doubled the points he got the year before. So yeah, we'll have to see where he plays. He could still play on the second line. I'm only just suggesting it with that extra import coming in and how good of a centre he is. You look at Florida, flipping it, their third line's their best line in the playoffs with Marchand, Verhage, and Lusterainen. But we'll go back to the National League. And the final signing I've got written down as a recording this morning, Jonathan Phillips, again, re-signed with Sheffield. Slava's going to love him, which I think will be a big one for that. But also he's going to be, again, just for the youngsters which are coming into this team, it's just going to be great for them. And Phillips still got a point per game last year at 41. He's now 42 years old. He scored some big goals last year as well. Yeah, it's just a good signing, Charlie.
The guy who's scored, who's captain of one of the best elite league teams, captain of Great Britain, and an out and out leader who leads by example on the PK. You can't really go wrong with that in the National League. He was unbelievable in that playoff game versus us at home. I remember the first playoff game. To
Oh,
be honest, we
scored
battered
two
Sheffield.
goals.
We battered him, croasted on his head, but this guy popped out of nowhere with 2 goals and nearly produced one of the biggest upsets in playoffs because
Yeah,
that would have been
they'd have won
unbelievable
that.
if they won that game. But yeah, John O'Phillips is a cracking signing. He could potentially be their third line centre depending on how many forwards they sign, which is crazy to think. And yeah, like you said, Slava's not gonna. He's gonna love a guy who can play top line PK and can basically play in any scenario, and he's got more experience than Slava. Um, so yeah, it's a cracking signing, and I just think he's going to be crucial in that dressing room, especially with a lot of players who have played at a good level. He can make the dressing room very relaxed, and he can go,
Humble them, yeah.
I played above all of you guys. I played in GB against Conor Bedard, so you can calm down. I played against Conor Bedard."
Yeah, it's a good signing. Sheffield looking strong so far, but I think they will have
Great
to.
signing so far,
They
yeah.
will. They've announced a lot of their flashy players. I think they will have to announce that core. You've got to have the core guys as well, and Phillips is the start of that core. So we'll see in the next few weeks who else
One
Sheffield have got
signing.
planned. Right,
You missed one
Dougie
signing.
Clarkson time. What do you say?
You missed one signing.
Oh, what signing?
Jamie Smith on Thursday.
Oh, Jamie Smith.
Yes.
Did I? Oh, Jamie Smith. Sorry. We
He
might have
signed.
mentioned him on last week's podcast.
Oh, he signed a
We might.
two-year deal on Thursday, I thought.
Yeah, he got. Oh, maybe if we have missed him, Jamie Smith, 2-year deal. Again, he's one of those academy products who kind of develop really quickly. And again, big role for Swindon on the third line. He improves every year, and I want him to start fighting. I've said this. I'd love him to take that enforcer role when we need to.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I love Jamie. I think he's cracking, and I'm hoping he can take a role on the PK soon as well.
Yeah, it will take a bit of a load off the other guys as well. But yeah, hopefully a couple more fights for Jamie next season. We'll have to see. But yeah, anyways, let's move on to the interview of Dougie Clarkson. Hopefully it was a good one. I'm interviewing him a couple hours, but enjoy that, and then we'll outro the podcast. Hello and welcome back. We've got another very special guest on the podcast. He is retired, but he played in the EPIHL and actually the NIHL one with the Telford Tigers. A lot of fans might know him. Dougie Clarkson, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. We were just speaking before. You're actually in Canada. How's it? Out in Canada at the moment?
Oh, it's good. As I was saying, it's warm finally. It's been pretty cold still somehow in the start of June, but it's finally warm today and pretty humid out. So summer's coming.
You should be used to the rubbish weather after playing in Great Britain for a bit. You actually mentioned
Yeah.
on message you were actually coming back over. Do you want to let everyone know what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm coming back over. Adam Keefe, the coach in Belfast there, he has a charity game through the kids' charity this weekend, Saturday night, and he's got a lot of ex-players he played with, a couple NHL players. My brother's heading over, Mike Richards is heading over, Owen Nolan as well is going to be there. So that's a great cause and a great game for that in Belfast. And then Sunday, it's his testimonial.
Oh,
And again, it's going to be a game with a lot of the same players and stuff like that for Adam. And then next weekend, one of my good friends, Joey Martin in Cardiff, his testimonial.
he's still kicking him out. He's still.
I know, and he's still so good, which is crazy. But so his testimonial is next weekend in Cardiff, so that'll be a good time to see the guys and see the fans and everything.
Nice one, yeah. I bet you can't wait to kind of see all your old teammates because it would be nice to catch up with them. That's the beauty of those testimonial games.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be good to see everybody. I've seen a few of them, obviously, from being from Canada and playing, and but yeah, it'll be nice to see everybody else and a lot of the British guys I haven't been back to see since. So.
Isn't Adam Keefe's one? Is Sheldon Keefe coming to coach for the other team? His brother?
Yeah. Sheldon's
That'll be
coming.
so cool.
He's coming to coach. Yeah. So that'll be good. Yeah, I think they'll be out there by the end of the week, and yeah, that'll be good. Like I said, the one game is for charity, and then the next one's for his testimonial. So that'll be good.
Oh, nice one. Right, let's get into it then. So obviously Canada's where it's the hockey nation, isn't it? So talk us through it. Were you just born into playing? Well, they don't call it ice hockey out there, do they? They just call it hockey. They don't like it being called ice hockey.
Yeah.
Were you just born into playing it?
Yeah, my dad actually, he's from Scotland, so he immigrated when he was a kid to Canada, to Toronto.
Yeah.
And he was a goalie. He was a very good goalie, and big Leafs fan. So as my brother's a few years older than me, but it was just something that we loved doing in our little neighborhood in Toronto. Guys like Brendan Shanahan and the Smith brothers are all from their little neighborhood. So hockey was a pretty big deal. Growing up, hockey and lacrosse. So it was something that was just instilled in us to play. And we just were lucky enough to play in Toronto and good teams and get better. So ended up loving it.
Best place to play. Obviously you played OHL for a couple seasons. That has got really competitive, obviously, in recent years. I think the London Knights just won, didn't they?
Yeah, they just won Memorial Cup.
Memorial Cup. So talk us through kind of your time in the OHL. Were you always that tall at that young age?
My first year junior actually is when I grew. Around my draft year, around 16, I grew quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I just had no like any lost all hands, lost everything, just growing that much, right? So after that, after my first year junior, I was actually committed to school. I got a few offers for college, and that's where I was going. And then I decided last minute to sign in Kitchener. They were hosting the Memorial Cup that year. My brother just finished, so the head coach there, Pete DeBoer, who coaches Dallas now.
Oh my days! We just beat an Edmonton.
Yeah, so he brought me in, and I was convinced to stay in Kitchener instead of going to college. So
yeah,
yeah, it was fun. I loved playing. I loved going down to school. That was a great choice for me and chance for me too to go down to Lowell. I was at UMass Lowell.
yeah.
And then when I came back to Kitchener, just like London, it's a first class organization and everything like that. So I got to play with a lot of great players there and in Kitchener, and played in Erie after that. And so it was definitely different. It's very pro run organizations when you're 17, 18 years old and thrown into it, but it was a good time. It was fun.
Would you have predicted Pete to kind of go on to do what he has done, or was he a late bloomer kind of thing, or did you know like he was a proper good coach?
I knew he was great. He was in Kitchener when my brother got there, and they won the Memorial Cup in 2003, I believe. And just he's an amazing guy, amazing person, very good coach. And you could tell he just had that. Like everybody that played for him, the managers, GMs, owners that he worked for, all loved him. Like nobody ever said a bad thing about him. So I knew that once he coached me, and then he went on after that. I think he went to Florida first.
Yeah.
For the Panthers for a bit, but like I said, he's going to keep getting jobs and keep coaching in the NIHL because he is a very good coach and somebody that you definitely want to play for.
Yeah. Obviously, it used to be called the CIS, and now it's called the U Sports.
Yeah.
You did a couple seasons in the U Sports, and that's probably where all of the imports, the NIHL or the EPIHL, was getting those kind of Canadians. How did you find it in the U Sports? Because you were over a point per game, and I guess you were studying at the time as well.
Yeah, it was good. It was after I finished in the OHL in junior, I went to my first NHL rookie camp, and that's where the GM Lou Lamoriello in New Jersey at the time, to convince me to take my school package and finish for another year or two. So I decided to go out east first, and then I transferred to Nipissing and had to sit out a year because I transferred. And the use at the time, it was in a town called North Bay, which is about 4 hours north of Toronto. Okay. And they used to have an OHL team. They have it back again, but when I was there was no OHL team. Yeah. So they love hockey up there. They have a nice rink, so we got tons of fans. It was great atmosphere. And then during the end of that season, because I had a good season and everything, it was some teams were starting to call me to go finish the year off in the East Coast League, and I decided not to finish the season and play here still. And then the next year is when I went pro.
Yeah, we've had a couple players. I've spoke to this guy called Jake Bricknell. He just left Swindon, but he was with us last season. He was telling me how brutal the ECHL can be and bouncing around teams. Everyone's just playing for that contract. Did it help that you were a big guy being able to play in that league?
Yeah, it did, because and it's funny too, because that season actually it was the NHL lockout. So when I signed with Toledo, they had two affiliates. They were affiliated with Detroit and Chicago.
Okay.
And the year of the lockout, they each had first round picks, second round picks, guys that they were all moving down because of the lockout. So I was worried right when I signed that I would probably be sent away, traded, or cut. And luckily I wasn't, and ended up having a pretty good season there. And again, it was another first-class organization in Toledo. The town, they were rebuilding for downtown, much like Detroit. They just built a new rink. They built a new baseball stadium for the AAA team. And it was just run just like our bus was probably the best in the league. Right. And you're on the bus for 24 hours sometimes,
I've
right?
seen some of the buses, man. They look so cool.
And some of the teams had like actual buses, which was like wild to me. Like going on a trip for 20 hours on just a regular coach bus is So Toledo, we all had like our own little bed, like sleeping bed, and they
Yeah.
took care of us. We flew for places too and stuff like that. So that was definitely an easier transition for most. But it is like, and at that time too, there was no. I think that was the last year because there was no limit to a rookie contract, so you can
Okay.
sign for whatever you wanted, whatever the team would
Yeah.
give you. And I think the next year they implemented a rookie contract, which is like super low in the max rookie deal.
Yeah.
And so guys are, that's why you see guys just not even go. They just come right overseas now to Germany,
Yeah.
to UK, because
And they get to
it's a
explore
grind.
other countries as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it is a grind. Like some of the guys were telling you, it is, you're on some long trips and some long bus rides and not a lot of money. But it's all the same. You get to play hockey and get to hang out with the boys. So
Yeah. It says you played a few AHL games.
yep.
How is that? Because that is obviously the league below the NHL for people who don't know too much about the American leagues, but I can imagine you didn't really get pushed around in that league being that big.
No, it was good. Yeah, so I signed with them in that summer after Toledo, and I ended up, they invited me to main camp with the Flyers,
Yeah, I've seen a
which was
couple of
awesome.
pictures.
So it was fun because Ron Hexall called me to tell me, and it was obviously a great time. And just getting to be there with those guys, and they had obviously a great team then too. And I ended up being, I got to play preseason against the Leafs too, which was good. Scored and
Oh,
fought.
your hometown team.
It was definitely good for the family, good for me, and then when I got sent down to the American League,
Yeah.
again it's different. It's a small town up in upstate New York, called Glens Falls, and that's where I played for Adirondack, and older rink, but again it was good hockey, very good players, and I was there a lot to fight, to be the physical,
Yeah.
presence and everything. But we also had about three other guys that were fight, like big guys, and
Yeah.
so we usually alternate in the lineup and stuff. But it was, yeah, it was good. It was fun. It's funny because a lot of people don't like the difference between the two leagues, even the NHL to the American League to East Coast League. There's players in each of those leagues that could probably play in the NHL,
Yeah.
just their skill level alone, but it's the decision making is half a second quicker.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of players, people are like, oh, how did this guy not make it in the NHL? Or how did this guy not make it? Like, they do great in all these other leagues, but it's just that 1 second of decision making you have to make. And some guys just can't adapt to it. Some guys do and blossom when they get there. But yeah, it was a fun time in Adirondack. I got to obviously practice a lot, play with a lot of great players, but it was good. It was fun.
We'll get to a few players you've played with in a bit, but you've finally made the move back to, well, you said your dad was from Scotland?
Yeah, he's born in
Yeah.
Leith in Edinburgh. Yeah.
Nice. So you came to Cardiff. How did that move come about? Because the Devils isn't too. I'm from Swindon. We support the Wildcats. The Devils isn't too far from Swindon, so I've managed to get to a few Devils games. Obviously, they got the new arena now. But
Yeah.
you got 144 PIMs that season,
Yeah.
and you also got 38 points, which isn't too bad. So, how was your first season in the UK?
It was great. It was a lot of fun. I actually got in contact with them because of Adam Keefe.
Oh yeah,
And when Todd Kelman was in Cardiff, he knew Adam from Belfast. So I got speaking with them, and they were getting, I think everybody was new. There was, especially all the imports, there was a ton, aside from maybe two or three imports, everybody was new. So
okay.
a lot of us didn't know each other. A lot of us kind of, like, I played with Joey Martin in Toledo, actually.
Oh nice.
So I
Yeah.
knew him. And, but at the time he wasn't on the team either. So when I spoke to Todd and Andrew Lord, our coach at the time too, I spoke to him about Joey and bringing him on. And that's my one Joey story is, I
He's
brought him to Cardiff.
he's been there
I,
ever
I
since.
like to remind Devils fans I'm the one that brought him to Cardiff. So but yeah, no, it was good. Like I said, just speaking with them, and the new ownership at the time came in, and they're all from Calgary, actually, out west. So speaking with them, their vision for the team, their everything else was something that I wanted to do and be a part of. So when we got there, and like I said, we all kind of met each other and everything, but Just a really good group of guys. Obviously, we had a great team. We won the Challenge Cup that year. And yeah, it was just fun. It was fun playing that big blue tent. Fans were always wild, and they go crazy just as much for a goal as a tilt or anything like that. So yeah, it was definitely a good time there.
Mark Richardson's still kicking about. I think he's so close to the all-time games record in the Elite League, and no
Yeah.
doubt he'll smash it. But he just plays at that same level, so consistent. And his brother
Yeah.
actually is assistant coach at Swindon, Lee Richardson. But yeah, he's still kicker. He'll be at the testimonial as well, I assume.
Yeah, yeah, and Mark, yeah, it's funny too because we're actually roommates on the road together. We always had the same roommate, so we have some funny story. He probably has some funny ones about me too. But he was the same guy, like practice game.
Yeah.
He's the most steady, one of the most steady players I've ever played with. Just doesn't make mistakes. Just simple things. Like he's not going to dangle everybody, but like he just constantly puts up points, constantly great defensively, like just nonstop all the time.
Yeah, we love Mark. I think he'll see it out in Cardiff. Get that record of
Yeah.
the Elite League. But then let's get on to it then, because we are an NIHL podcast. And you made the move to Telford. How did that come about? Yeah, it certainly was a stacked Telford Tigers team that season.
Yeah. Yeah, the first one in when we were still in the EP.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
last season of the EPIHL.
Yeah, it was good because I finished in Dundee. Didn't the season didn't go as planned for everybody. So when I was home, I was contemplating if I was going to go back to Dundee or see if I was going to go back to Cardiff or not, or and I was just kind of unsure. And then I actually got a call from Tommy Watkins, the coach there in Telford, and spoke to him. Again, just liked him a lot. Seemed very normal, like good guy. And so I ended up deciding to sign there. And like I said, it was a big difference, obviously, with the amount of imports you're allowed compared to what I'm used to. Yeah, so yeah, it was 4 or 5, and or 3 or 4 could only be dressed or something like that. But yeah, it was a good kind of group of guys right away that we all just got along. Got close with a few of the guys like Jason Silverthorne.
He just got announced actually, Silverthorne, as player coach at Telford Twos. So he's still going. He actually Telford the Tigers had some injury problems last season, and Jason laced up at 45 years old. He's still going.
And it's funny too, because he was at the time he was older even then, but he's the same. Like he worked out every day, he took care of himself every day. He was always again doing the same consistent things. And yeah, we had a really good team between the UK guys and the imports. And then obviously playing with Matty Davies was huge.
That was my next question. Is that the smallest player who's ever been on your line?
Yeah, probably. He's probably up there as one of the smallest guys. But it was funny because we even just like immediately, I think the first practice or second practice, it was just noticeable just how well we worked together and played together. So it was a lot of fun for playing for me, for scoring and him setting me up and getting in those spaces for him. So yeah, it was a good time.
And he always knew that no one could like start on him either.
And you know, Matty, he loves doing that stuff. Matty loves getting in there and chirping guys and getting right in, and I'd be right over top and ready to go. So yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun playing with Matty.
And then obviously the league changed to the NIHL 1. Obviously Guildford and Milton Keynes went up to the Elite League. You went back to Canada to play. I think what league was it? You went for one season.
Yeah, it's the Allen Cup Hockey League. So I came home and I was just actually retired. It's more for that league is like a weekend league for ex-pro guys that are just like back home now working.
You're probably used to the weekend schedule back in the NIHL as well, or the EPIHL.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I came home and did like my firefighting stuff and everything for the year and built a house and everything. So I was ready to be kind of done, just playing this Allen Cup League for a couple of years while I was getting a career started here. And then again, it was taken longer than I expected. And when the league changed and Tommy spoke to him again, and I asked him
it was ridiculous.
if they'd want me to come back, and he said, "Of course, please." And so yeah, it was great to go back and play another season there in Telford.
That was it was one of the weirdest kind of few seasons, I think, for because it was you and Hull, and was it Sheffield as well? It was just
Yeah.
you three in that Northern League, which
Yeah.
just dominated everyone. I think you got 4 points a game in that league, 48 goals or something like that.
Yeah.
How weird was it playing in some of those rinks as well?
Yeah, it was different. It was different playing in some of them. I'm trying, like Basingstoke was something special with that one side still. I don't know if it's condemned still or not, but
Well, they've just come back this season, actually.
oh, okay.
Yeah, they've just come because they had to stop because the rink got so bad.
Really?
But they've just come back this season, so they're hoping the rink will be refurbished, ready for them. But yeah, you're right. Basingstoke wasn't the nicest of rinks.
Yeah, though that was a different one. There was what was the other one?
I'm trying to
There
think
was
teams in the Northern League. Let me have a look. I think did you have like Solihull? Solihull were in there.
yeah, Solihull was good. Like that was actually a pretty good rink. They took care of
Billingham,
it well. Um,
D side you had Whitley, Widnes. Widnes is a very small rink.
I don't remember that one. There was
Whitley
one
was
other. Bracknell had their rink was okay.
yeah.
I think it was Bracknell.
So the Devils. Because did you play some of the Southern teams as well then in it?
Yeah, we did play a few of them, but it wasn't. We constantly were playing Hull.
Because that was in your Northern kind of group, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and Swindon or yeah, Hull,
As well.
Sheffield. But yeah, it was definitely different playing in some of those rinks. But the funny thing was the fans were like great too. Like they were still showing up. Like it still was, full. And I guess the only other like comparable would be like Fife in the elite league when like you go there and like the rink's old, but like the fans are just mental.
Yeah.
And I love playing there, but it was like that with some of the other rinks too. Like the rinks were old or they were a little run down or they obviously needed some updating, but the fans were always there for the players and yeah, it was a fun time in that league.
Nice one. Few quick fire questions then before we finish up. Who's the best player you've played with, and who's the best player you've played against
In that league, like overseas?
in your whole career?
Oh, my whole career.
And then I'll ask for our league specifically as well.
I'd probably say with Kadri. I was with him in Kitchener his rookie year.
Yeah.
And he was just ridiculous even as a 16-year-old. He was
that Stanley Cup run he had with Colorado was just,
yeah.
They still need a guy like Kadri.
Yeah, and he was literally just so much better. And like at the time too, our league in the OHL, like Tavares was there and Patty Kane and
really?
Sammy Gagne, like London was stacked, but like Nas he actually got traded there that year too, or the next year as part of the trade. But
they always got the good players.
So
London.
Yeah,
they still do.
He was so good. Oh yeah, they always do. Yeah.
And then who's the best player you've played against? Then obviously you spoke about a few of those training camps.
Yeah, a few of the camps that I played against. Funny, Kadri was there actually. Best player I played against would probably be, yeah, probably Patty Kane in the OHL. I grew up playing with him in the summertime in Hamilton actually when we were kids, and he was just couldn't hit him off the puck. He'd go around you no matter what, no matter how fast he was going. And then yeah, when I was at camps and stuff like that, playing with some of the players on Philly, like it was, with Giroux and all these guys and the coaches we had, like it was pretty wild. But yeah, for actually playing against in real meaningful games, would probably be Patty Kane. Yeah.
And then you kind of answered it, but who is kind of your favorite player to play with while you're at the Tigers?
It'd definitely be Matty, and McKenzie too. Scott McKenzie was great.
Yeah, he's still kicking around.
Yeah, I know. I saw. Yeah, he's again very similar to Matty. Like they both see the ice very well.
Yeah.
Both smaller guys. You want them to have the puck on their stick. But I just think that, for Maddie to help me get 50 that year in Telford, that first year was pretty wild. So
We always end with this question. You're not actually you're retired. How's retirement been? Has it been all right? You managed to get out and about in Canada?
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm a police officer back home now here.
Oh,
Been
nice.
doing it for probably about 7 years. And yeah, it's good. Get to have fun, and I wear this every day. This is my uniform, so it's pretty good. It's different, but get to watch the NHL and playoffs
Well,
now, Stanley Cup Finals and everything.
just
So
say,
it's
what
good.
is your prediction? Obviously, we were chatting off there. I'm a massive Oilers fan, but go on. What is your honest prediction?
I think they can do it. I think Florida's deeper. They just naturally have three top like lines that can play defensive, run guys over and score. But I do think like McDavid is the best player I've ever seen play hockey and the most dominant player I think that will ever play.
Yeah.
At this level to do it and the speed, like just how much better he is than everybody with today's game is pretty nuts. So I think if him and Draisaitl can stay healthy and
Draisaitl
keep on that
especially.
pressure.
He wasn't really fit last year. I think he
Yeah,
was playing for an injury. If you can get a fully healthy Draisaitl in this final, I think that's going to make a big difference.
yeah, for sure. And like Nugent Hopkins is a phenomenal hockey player too. He kind of
Underrated,
gets
yeah.
hidden under those two, but I think if those three guys are going, then I think it's tough to beat. I think it'll probably go deep. I think we'll go 6 or 7 for sure, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I bet it's nice for you guys being able to watch it at a nice time. I'll have to wake up at 1 a.m. or whatever
Yeah,
to
and
watch them.
watch.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, I know. Eh?
we always end with this. What is kind of your message to the Telford Tigers fans who watched you in your couple years you played?
Um, Thanks for coming out, supporting us during a few of the rough times at the start there, my first year with the ownership. But we had amazing people take over, make sure everything was right. And again, the fans stuck behind us um, as we were progressing through, and the players and everything. It was all very appreciated to us as players, and moving forward for the town. Like I loved living there. I loved being around Telford, and it's a very, very great place, and people are very nice. So, thanks a lot for a great few years of my hockey career.
Nice one. Well, enjoy the couple testimonies, being back in the UK, catching up with a few buddies. And yeah, we'll keep in contact, mate.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Cheers, Dougie. Hello and welcome back. Thanks, Dougie, for hopping on. We hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm sure there was a lot of Telford fans tuning in to hear what their teammate had to say. But yeah, that comes to an end, Charlie. Another week of transfers. I think the next few weeks are going to be quite a busy one for both of us, actually. But especially you, obviously planning to move out. So if you're not on the next few episodes, I'm sure you can come back
I'm
for.
come on next week for sure. And yeah, I'm definitely want to do lots of the team previews, and we'll see where it goes in the future of the podcast. But no, I know Dan will definitely be carrying it on. Obviously, I think he's probably going to do 54 out of 54 for Basingstoke.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that lad will miss a game. And who knows? And also, shout out to Andrew Day before we end the podcast. It looks like next year he's going to take a bit of a step back from the National League. He's announced his step back from the Romford Raiders, a big loss for them. But now we love Andrew. He loves his women's hockey at the moment. He's a big advocate for that. And we love him for that. And so I think he's taken a little step back from the National League by what he was saying on Twitter. He probably is listening to the podcast. So we love you, Andrew. We think you're a legend. Keep
He's
up the
one of
great.
the biggest English hockey fans, or like a big advocate of the National League, and he's really got into the women's, trying to get elevate that, covering those games, being a bit of DJ as well. So good luck to Andrew. But yeah, we'll try and get some interviews for the next few weeks. I've messaged a few players, so hopefully they can hop on. Make sure to follow our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.